My name is Bradley Moreno, and I'm a member of the Tucson Nation. Live here in Tucson. I guess, well, what I'm talking about today is my trip to Standing Rock and my visit there. Really, it sort of fell into my lap. I had been seeing a lot of the reports on social media, a lot of the coverage of people being just treated very, really badly by these police officers and these security people for the Dakota Access Pipeline Company, and it was just really like something that I wanted to show my support for. Our tribe sent a delegation of like 70 plus people. They went there to go show their support and to offer their prayers and to offer their blessings, and some of the people that went actually ended up staying there, and it was a really awesome thing to know that some of our people were willing to sacrifice their time and go up there and do what they could to help. They went up there to volunteer. They chopped wood, they cooked, they did whatever they needed to do to help out. And so for me, I got an opportunity to go up there for Thanksgiving week, and I took it. And I went up with some friends, and we actually had spread the word that we were going to be traveling, and there was a lot of people that reached out to us that donated winter clothes and boots and just a lot of good stuff, brand new thick socks and camping gear, and they wanted us to take it up there and donate it for the cause, for all those people that were going to be there. So it was really interesting to get up there and learn a little bit more. The land that they were all camping on is government land, and the way the tribe is, their argument was that they never ceded that land, and so it still belongs to the tribe, and there's some dispute on that. But this community that just grew out of resistance, that was a really empowering thing to see and to actually be a part of for a little bit. To see all the snipers in person, and to see the bridge where all these things happen, and to see the burnout truck that we saw on the social media, to be there in person, and me and a couple of people we met up with up there, we actually went to the bridge, and really we wanted to offer our support, our prayers, and however the people there wanted. One of the things that was really pushed on us was to be peaceful, to offer our prayer and peaceful solidarity, not to be violent, and not to be reacting the way they intended us to react, by provocation, which is what their tactics are all about. When you saw those videos, that they really wanted justification to arrest people. But we went to the bridge. We went there to see this place in person, and we got to see the armored vehicles and the razor wire and the barricades, and the guy got on the loudspeaker and told us to step away from the bridge and to move away and move back, and it was just, the absurdity of it is funny now. Like, we're just standing there, wanting to pray, and then there's these people with guns and military vehicles, and there's snipers on the hills, and you can see the vehicles, these little posts everywhere with guys in fatigues, or dressed up like they were fighting a war, as opposed to how they claim trying to keep the peace and trying to keep things from escalating, which is showing up with armored vehicles and sniper rifles. You're kind of escalating it. But one of the things that I noticed, or that I felt seeing all this coverage, is how people were really shocked, and people were really surprised to see the level of response from the government and from the county, the state, and people were really just, it's like they couldn't believe what was happening. They couldn't believe that there was this overreaction from government agencies. And it's the reason that's funny to me is because growing up on the Tohono Nation, we face that kind of militarization every day. Every time you drive off the reservation or you go anywhere, we have to pass through Border Patrol checkpoint, which is usually manned by half a dozen people, and they're all armed. There's usually dogs out there, and they're there to inspect your vehicle and see if you're carrying anything illegal. And the northern border of our reservation, that we have 3 main roads that lead off the reservation, and all 3 of those roads have a very heavily manned checkpoints at each area. So you have to go through them every time you leave the reservation. Now, our reservation is north of the Mexico-U.S. border. So these Border Patrol checkpoints aren't at the border, they're at the border of our reservation. Our northern border, our western border, and our eastern border. So it's something that we've sort of adapted to. I mean, there's a lot of people that are starting to get used to having it there. They've become acclimated to this the presence of this government agency and all their weaponry, you know. So for Standing Rock to escalate that quickly to the response that they got, you know, it was more of a shock to them because they didn't have that there. It wasn't there daily. It wasn't there prior to them resisting and wanting to speak out against it. For them, it was a real big shock, you know. And one of the things that we share in common with the tribes on the northern border is that nobody that's not, or no, let me see, anybody that's not somehow involved with tribal politics or policies care or are aware of the level of oppression that we have to deal with. Nobody speaks about it. Nobody has demonstrations for it until an incident like this has to happen to bring attention to it. When we got back from Standing Rock, we reached out to find a group or anybody that was already doing that, and that's how we found the Water Protector group. And they welcomed us in, you know, we were able to join up with them. And there's a couple other groups out there. There's some Autumn youth that started a group, and they're organizing and they're doing their own thing also. But everybody's got the same intention in mind. You know, we're trying to fight against this whole, I don't know how to, like, normalization of suppressing these kinds of things. You know, suppressing that they're conducting these kinds of operations on tribal land, and they're doing it intentionally. They intimidate, and for myself, you know, Standing Rock's an extension of everything that we've had to deal with from every tribe all over North and South America. You know, we're all in the same fight against oppression, and we're all being oppressed by the same group. It's usually the invading culture. I guess that's a nice way to say it. there's people I know that would just say white people, but I prefer to say the invading culture. I don't know how that how that sounds, but it's always interesting to have those debates, and it's always interesting to hear from people. I had posted a while back about the Border Patrol checkpoints and how we have to deal with that on a daily basis. And someone had commented angrily that Americans have to go through airport security every time they want to fly, and so they understand what we're going through. And my argument, I had to sort of straighten out the idea, like, when you leave the reservation, we don't have all the access to the stores that we have up here in Tucson. We don't have that kind of access. We need to get our clothing. We have to buy all of our groceries, any services, medical, education. It's all got to be done off the reservation for a lot of people. So a lot of us, we don't have a choice. We have to leave daily or weekly in order to get those things. So that was my argument to this person. When you go through the airport security, you're making a choice. You could drive. You don't have to get on this plane. But for us, how are we going to survive without the necessities? Without things you need. And it just comes from a very entitled perspective and a disbelief, and almost as if us complaining about the militarization and our treatment is a personal insult or a way of messing with their security, which is ridiculous, I think. But that was the main reason I wanted to go up there. I really felt like we had to show our solidarity. We had to be able to say we understand, and whether you're being treated bad on the northern end of the United States, the southern end, eastern or western or central, if you're indigenous and you're being persecuted and oppressed by corporations or the local governments, it doesn't matter. We all need to stick together, and we all need to bring this awareness out, And I know there's a breaking point coming. We really want to push peaceful and being prayerful, but there's just only so much before something's going to snap, And I really feel sad for when that day comes, but I feel like it's inevitable. So, yeah, that was my experience pretty much.